Ladies and gentlemen, support for this podcast is brought to you by xbrain.co.uk for all of your on-demand supplementation needs. Enter promo code Fighting Words at checkout to save 20% off your order. Fighting Words is also brought to us by our good friends at Market Squawk, powered by livesquawk.co.uk. If you are any sort of human being trying to survive these wild times, then you want to be trading crypto, storing a little bit of gold, doing a little bit of bundle chats, and they have the data to keep you going. Now tonight, it is a rare treat. It's Jesse's first time. I don't know how many times I saw you last week, and I was very happy to see you. The rapologist, the magician, the man, the myth, the legend, cut man extraordinaire, handsome CEO, glove designing Don, pool player, snooker player. Like, is there anything the geezer can't do? Russ Amber's back. Hello, Russ.
You know, you were good up until you said handsome. You know, everything was okay up until you said handsome. Then you just had to go over the edge. Right?
You just have to, yeah, you got there. You got there. Welcome back to Montreal. It was nice to see you last week. Weird.
It was a great 3 weeks in the UK. It was absolutely wonderful. And I've got an absolutely incredible story to share with you later, but we can carry on. But I really loved my time in the UK once again. And believe me, when I got home, and if I could show you the snow that is outside, the storms that we've had, the accumulation of snow, I wish I was back in the UK right now.
However, if we do get even a light dusting, one that would probably just about add the sugar to a donut, the entire country shuts down. So
if I showed you what's here.
Yeah, you got Luke Vincent and Sam coming in on dogs and sleds, and like here they're striking because it's. How about this?
Because they heard it might snow.
Check this. In my new office, the heating has had some problems. People have decided to work from home.
Of course,
because under UK law, it has to be 16C for you to be able to work in an office, and it's just like, oh, come on.
I've got to say, like, I can't entirely disagree, but I found that, you know, you'd come from outside and, you know, I'd have my jacket on. It felt okay. You know, I had my jacket, chilly because you're outside and you expect it to be a little chilly when it's 5 degrees, 4 degrees, 6 degrees. Okay, no problem. Yeah. But then when you go inside, the fact that you don't get that sense of warmth because, you know, the buildings are obviously, you're a much older country. Everything is built out of cement and brick, which is going to last another 2,000 years since they've been built as well, and it's still going to be standing. But you can't help but that humidity and dampness that just gets right into your bones. And it's a different kind of cold over there. It's a different kind of dampness than here. Here it could be freezing outside. Like today, it's minus. Let me just make sure it's minus 8 right now. Okay, it's -8, but inside, like I'm in a t-shirt and I feel warm, and you're warm. You know, like I get a sense of that it's -8 out there.
-8, and that's you know, kind of hoodie weather to some of you barbarians in Montreal. Yeah. Right. How was the snooker life in Liverpool versus the snooker life around the Wembley area?
I have to say that I had more fun in the Wembley area. By far. And the reason I say this reluctantly because the George Scott Snooker Club in Liverpool is an absolute gem of a place. Like, it's one of the most beautiful rooms I've ever been in. 30 snooker tables in there, and to say 30 snooker tables when you walk in. It's a tiny little pub area that you walk into, and you say, okay, you walk in, and how do you have to, they open the back door for you to go in, and boom, it's 30 tables in there. It's massive, right? But for some reason, whether it's for licensing or where they are located, or I don't know what, but at 11:30 on the dot, it closes. Not 11:31, not 11:32, not 11:29, 11:30, they put the lights out, even if the place is full, you know, like starting from 11:15 to 11:30, you have 20 tables going to 0 like that. And I always like, I can't believe it, you know, like that they do that. But that wasn't the case at the Hurricane Room in London, and we were there till 3, 4 in the morning every night.
Love it.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. It was great. But that you know, you didn't even know, but that's the segue to the absolutely incredible story that happened and
Let's have
I,
it.
it proves that there's a God out there. At the public workouts on the Wednesday,
For Beefy or for Otter?
Arthur,
Okay.
public workouts Wednesday in Wembley. We're in Wembley now, okay?
Yeah. Okay. Wembley. Yeah.
These two guys come up to us and say, "Excuse me, sir, do you mind if we get a picture with Arthur? We're British, but you know, we want to show Arthur our support, and we really love a picture with him." And hey, no problem. You know, Arthur finished his workout. Arthur, can you take a picture with these guys? They pose, click, 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 click. Thank you very much. Enjoy the fight. Good luck, guys. We're with you. God bless everything. Sayonara. See you.
Yep.
That was what time was it? That was early afternoon, right? That was 1, 2 o'clock
Yeah.
in the afternoon, if you remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
I get to the snooker club around 8 o'clock at night. I get my balls from the front counter. I go to my table. I'm putting my cue together, just about to start hitting balls. And these two same guys walk over to my table. Hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you? Friends for life now. We are friends for life. We played every day since the moment we met. We've become friends. They took care of me the rest of the week. I couldn't even buy supper when I was with them. They wouldn't let me spend a dime. They were so hospitable and so nice. Snooker now was on the house. I mean, it was just great. But what are the odds of that, Rob? That two guys who come up and ask for a picture, you know, happen to be the same guys that are, you know, show up at a snooker club, of all the snooker clubs that are in London. Can you imagine?
This is it. That's the universe. That's the universe. And then obviously they're fans, and I hope that you offered them out a little bit of a discount promo code on Rival Gear. Like
100%.
Obviously.
Don't worry.
Obviously. Now, were they a little bit skittish in asking Arturo for a picture?
No, they loved it. They
were just straight in.
They were enamored with him, and they knew of him. They knew their boxing. They knew who they were looking at, and yeah, they loved him. And then, you know, for the icing on the cake or the cherry on the sundae, whichever you prefer, after the fight was over, I'm carrying my stuff back to the ring, from the ring to the dressing room, and they saw me. I said, "Here, guys, come and help me." And I gave them each a bucket to carry, took them back into the dressing room area, and like,
that's them forever. Let me just say very quickly, and we can cut this out if you don't want to talk about it. When I saw you at the weigh-in, and I came over and I spoke to you and Luke Vincent, because obviously I was helping out for the channel,
right.
And I know the answer, but I still have to do it because I'm helping out a friend who has the deal with the whatever. Do you think that we can get an interview with Arta for 1 minute after? Flat no. Yeah, flat no. All good. Put my hands up. The dude's been starving. He's made weight. He's about to have a fist fight in a foreign land. For me, I thought it was going to be a no anyway, but I'm going to ask, right?
Right.
Don't ask, don't get. You know, for all I know, he's totally fine doing it. Yeah. Next thing I hear, it's like Queensbury are getting the interview. Queensbury are desperately getting the interview, and I'm like, I don't think they are. You know, like he's like, no, it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. And I was like, all right, well, like believe it when it happens. So at that point, I have to now make a beeline to try and get Mr. Yard to kind of even things out a little bit. Fortunately, Mr. Yard did do it, but I believe that Artur maybe just backdoored it, like the professional that he is. And it's just like, he probably, like, these people, like you said, he's in the worst point of the whole camp. Don't bother him, making him speak English, asking him questions. We've already seen, I mean, like, I'm still laughing about it. The young, I think he was seconds out, started talking to him about being Dagestani and how proud he must be of the Dagestani fighters. And he was just like, I'm Chechen. And he's like, yeah, but you were born there. And he's like, I could have been born in London. And he's like, yeah, but like, and he's like, I'm Chechen. And just turned at that point and started talking about other, like, leave the man be. You know, it's
been Mark's philosophy since going back to the Bute fight. I mean, the Diakanu fight, you know, that many years ago, where, you know, as soon as the weigh-in's done, we're out. There's no more playing anymore. We're done. We did all what we're supposed to do leading up to the fight. You've had your public workouts. You've had your press conferences. You've had numerous press conferences. You've had your final press conference. Whatever you've needed to ask, you've asked. You know, keep your information and, you know, disperse it as you need before the fight. But that's what bothers me the most about the media and the promoters behind the game is that you're so disconnected to what these guys are going through. And the commission is not any better, even in some places when you go for weigh-ins and they tell you the weigh-in is going to start at a certain time and you're around waiting. And then you wonder, why can't we go? So, oh, no, we're waiting on one guy to show up. So 17 guys have to wait because we're still waiting for one guy to show up. These guys want to eat now. They've been starving for 2 days. They need to eat now. They don't want to ask any questions. They have a headache. They've been dehydrated. They don't want to talk. And the promoters and the media should respect that. It shouldn't even be part of what they think is the protocol after a weigh-in to talk to people. You've asked them the questions leading up to the fight. You've antagonized them. You've played agent provocateur on them leading up to face-offs, the whole bit. You've talked crap about each one. You've tried to instigate everything you can. And still, after the weigh-in, you want them to take another 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes to talk to you, to please you for your little soundbite that you want. Get out of here, man.
Yeah. But there's nothing that they say anyway. After the weigh-in, it's the same questions. How do you feel? Fine. Are we going to get a good fight? Sure. Excuse me. Yeah. Like, what more do you want?
Exactly. Have you ever heard a fighter say, how do you feel? Look, I got to be honest with you. Camp was like terrible. I probably only went to 3 training sessions out of the week. You know, I really haven't trained well. I don't feel good. I suffer to make the weight. And, you know, I'm going to really be lucky if I can get through this. You know, if I can get through this without getting killed, I'll be lucky. And I'm going to give it my best shot, but I'm not counting on much.
No, and if I was just finishing it up, if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be betting on me. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is it. It's a redundant thing. It's a redundant thing.
You keep pushing the envelope. I mean, you have to admit, Arthur handled the final press conference wonderfully. Like he was great. You know, no matter how much instigating was going on. You know, do you have anything else to say? And he wasn't sure when he heard the question properly, so he asked Beck, his translator. No, I have nothing else to say. You know,
but this is it. Like I think you and I have spoken about this before. When we had him on the show, like Luke Vincent understands. But Arthur couldn't really understand the accent. He understands Montreal Canadian English. When he hears the British accent that isn't probably, you know, the Queen's English, when it's more slang, dialect, like what that, it's hard to hear it and it's hard for him to understand it. And, you know, if you have a melee of people with microphones and lights and everything else going on, and, you know, most of those dudes that are doing those interviews, they're from like Birmingham, Manchester, the Midlands. Some of them are English. Some of them are Londoners. Some of them are Southerners. Like, there's just this whole spread, and he's just like, I don't know what any of you lot are saying. You may as well be talking Elven to me.
And they don't realize, and I guess we're more used to it being here in Quebec, where you're used to speaking to somebody in a language that is not their mother tongue. So you make yourself understood. You rephrase your question in a probably simpler simpler words, you know, you lower the level a little bit, you know, but it seems like the Brits, they speak to you as if you're expected to understand everything they say. You know, you're not trying to tone it down or talk slower or enunciate a little bit better so that the guy you talk to him like you're talking to the guy at the kebab shop, you know, like, come on, how do you want him to understand that? So, and I'll tell you what, I speak perfect English, and when I'm hanging around the Smith brothers, I need subtitles when I'm listening to them talk with each other.
And I speak English. That's even we need that as well. Though. With Liverpudlians.
With the Geordies and the Scouts, if they go properly in, it's a hard thing to understand.
It's hard.
100%.
You know, Big Steve, the heavyweight who Rival did the gloves for recently.
Yeah,
he texts in a Geordie accent. So he will write English. I'll screenshot it and send it to you, and it's just like you read it, and he's broken it into just the phonetics of Geordie, and you're just like, okay, I understand what you're saying, and you can't understand it in any way other than that. I think that's a good time as any. Speak to me about Eubanks and Beefy, because for myself, and no doubt you're going to look at me and call me a name, but if you could wait another 2 minutes, so we're 15 minutes in, I thought I wasn't shocked Beefy won at all. Beefy is world class. He's a banger. He's a great fighter. He's an ex-world champion. He is the absolute real deal. I was thinking along the lines of the Eubank guys took that fight because I thought we were going to finally see the realization of Eubanks Jr. and the hype behind him for his entire career. I thought this was going to be the night. He's had 2-3 years with Roy. He looked decent in his last few outings and progressively better and better and better. No one, you may say otherwise, no one ever thought we would be talking complete demolition job 4-round KO. That just wasn't even in like the universe.
Rob, I got too much respect for you to tell you that, yeah, that's what I thought. And then, no, we didn't. Did I see that scenario happening round 9, round 11? Yeah. I thought we'd get him. I thought, and going into the fight, you know, in the camp with Joe McNally and Declan, we talked about it, and we were going to be happy even after 6 rounds. Like that, if we could be even after 6, we were going to be happy, and we thought, now we got him. You know, like we stayed even after 6, when he's going to be at his best. Now we've got him. So I'd be lying if I said we expected that. Did I expect the technique and the strategy and the skill set that Beefy employed in the fight? 1000%. Because, and I know that, you know, people won't see this, but I saw it firsthand in the gym. I was in Liverpool the week before fight week. So we were still in the gym doing the last 2 spars. I saw him work. I saw the things we were practicing on. I knew some of the things that we worked on that he was executing well. And if he was going to keep doing that, it was going to work, you know, and it was working. So, yes, he did that. But I don't think, and to be fair, the knockout came out of the blue. Like it was an exchange in the corner. Bang, the shot hurt him, and that's all she wrote. Like it wasn't like it wasn't an accumulation of punches after a couple of rounds getting to him. It was sudden and you know,
it was like a world star hip hop video, because it was just out of nowhere. It was just literally just swinging, landed, like, because it was Eubank. And because we've seen him take like hellacious shots from bigger dudes, like I initially thought that he slipped and then got piled in on the way down. And then you saw the first replay and you're like, no. He got absolutely and utterly cracked. Jesse called it, like, even with one eye, he gave it the full Odin. He was just like left hook, immediate left hook, straight in. And it was just like, Beefy like everything he throws has such good leverage. Everything he does is so, like, he's a technician. It's not surprising that he won. It's just how
he's
he
the guy
won.
that you tell people to watch and hope that they imitate, because everything's just like by the book to the T.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I love working with him because at the end of the day, that's a little bit of my style of coaching. It's a little bit of how I love guys who can fight on the inside. I love the old school type fighters. I love the guys who are more substance than flash. You know, not the guys who are all sizzle and no steak. You know, he's all steak with very little sizzle, but he's a full, you know, AAA grade A steak. You know, and he comes to fight. And that's why I love working with him. And God willing, if I ever write a book, you know, that night is going to be in that book, because for me that was a really memorable night and a memorable win in a huge fight that was built up. And something that you said made me think the opposite, and why I believe Beefy was going to win was because when they were courting Beefy to sign with Boxer, his proposal to them was, get me the Eubank fight and I'll sign with you. And I thought, wow, you know, the kid believes that that's what he wanted. So he asked for that fight, you know, not just like what you said, oh, if Eubank took the fight, he must have thought he could win. Well, Beefy asked for it, you know, and got it and delivered on it. So, but that's why you fight, right? That's why you get the result that you do. And it was a great night. It was a great night.
For him, he you know, there was never going to be a downside to that fight, right? And now he's in this very, very rare situation where, you know, probably they activate that rematch clause. I don't know how long they've got left. It can't be very long now. We're 2 weeks.
I think it's a 30-day. They got a 30-day.
So like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, they've still probably got 2 weeks to go. They've been pumping this nonsense about the elbow. We were talking about it last night, Russ. in that arena, okay, how many people now at a live arena where they've paid good money for a good seat, they're watching it like this?
Yeah.
Right?
And even the ones that aren't in good seats, pretty much half the audience,
everyone's
you see the
watching it through
flashes,
their
you see the
phone,
lights.
recording it. So if my suggestion was that if the camp truly believed it was caused by an elbow, put a thing on your Instagram, say, I will give you £5,000 if you have the footage that shows that an elbow detonated on me. Right? What's $5,000 to someone like Eubank?
But even if it did, Rob, even
Doesn't
if it
mean
did,
anything.
that wasn't the punch that caused the damage. It caused the damage to the eye.
Yeah.
But it didn't cause the damage to the knockout. It wasn't the punch in the second knockdown where he got hit with the right hand coming in, you know, like it wasn't that. Could these could these unintentional fouls occur in boxing when you're throwing a left hook? You miss the guy and you graze him on the top of the head, or he ducks in and you catch him behind the ear. All these things could happen in boxing. It's the intent.
It's a fight.
That's the most. This wasn't the flying elbow drop off the third rope. You know, that's right. So you know, like I think that's a. Did it cause that damage? Okay, sorry if it did. You know, and you know, if had that happened without a knockdown, and the referee called it as an unintentional foul, and the fight would have been stopped after the fourth round, and they would have gone to the scorecards. You know, that's what you know, that's what would have happened. So I'm not sure that that's justification enough for the knockout, because unless you say that elbow knocked you out, which we know it didn't because he was hurt way before that. Yeah, so it's bad, but I understand that they're trying to find some angle to try to sell the rematch. You know, like he's got this option that he can exercise, and now the poor promoter's in a position where he's going to have to put up the money to pay for a fight that, you know, really is difficult to sell in a rematch, you know, because of the way it ended. So yeah,
the only way that you sell that is with a little bit of controversy like they've done now. And the only way that you actually get people, you have to go to Eubank Jr. and probably Eubank Jr. would, in his defense, I think he is kind of an honorable dickhead. I don't know if that's even a thing, but he would have to go to Beefy and he would have to say, I'm going to sell this fight. You are going to hate me. I'm selling the fight. Like, you almost have to make that complete concession. I don't mean anything. I'm putting money in both of our pockets. And then you just got to let him talk all of the most wild stuff and hope that Beefy doesn't stab him, because he did cross a line even in this build-up, which I thought was a little bit much.
Who did?
Junior.
What line did he cross? Because everybody
the wife. Don't bring the wives in, because Russ, look, we're both married men. Yeah. If that.
Yeah.
All you're going to get on that drive home is just eyes in the side of your head. What does he know?
I took it as a joke right away, because I'll tell you why that bothered me there. Why that didn't bother me, because there was a writer here who wrote a book, basically blowing the lid on the NHL's Players Association, the National Hockey League, and the guy who was heading it was a guy named Alan Eagleson, and this guy just broke it all open to the point where this guy got thrown out of the Hall of Fame, jail time, the whole bit, right? And one of the clips that they consistently showed on TV was when this reporter would come into an Alan Eagleson press conference or whatever, the first thing Eagleson would say is, so I hear you're beating your wife. Are you still beating your wife? And you're still fooling around on your wife, and just trying to say shit. So like, as soon as he said that, that's exactly how I took it. Like, now you're just saying stuff, you know, you're just inventing stuff. So I wasn't even bothered by that. And I didn't think that, you know, Liam's wife was going to be bothered by that either. And Leela, you know, it was almost too staged. It was almost too absurd to be real for you to say that, you know. I was a little more concerned with the way BBC 5 treated the interview with Liam afterwards, when he asked them, when BBC said, do you have something you want to share with us? And BBC 5 couldn't, they freaked out. What were you implying? Why were you saying that? You know, and no matter what he said or what he apologized for, they insisted on trying to just keep beating him. And I thought, okay,
they want the clicks. That's all they want.
Yeah.
They want
it's
the
just
clicks.
like last few years, this new wave of media, the way that it operates is just it's brutal. They just want to provoke and no, not at all.
It's not media anymore. It's guys like us. It's guys like us that have actually made a little bit of money, and then what they do is that they get stuck in the lane of, I have to keep generating, because if I don't get the clicks, if I don't get the views, I don't get the monetization. So now I have to almost conjure up bullshit, and they've forgotten what this was all about in the first place.
Yeah, it's like Russ said earlier.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
it's like you said earlier about like where they're asking questions to the fighter for them. Everything they're asking, it's not so that the fighter can put a representation and maybe potentially get some new fans and build their profile. It's so they can get clicks, so they can get people to look at them and be like, oh, who's this guy that has all the information no one else has?
Yeah, it's become shock jock radio, hasn't it? A shock jock media, right? Like, how can I say the wildest crazy things, and so people can listen to me? And it's sad that it's come to that. But the selling of the fights have come to that, and the promoters are responsible for that. Like, why do you have to have a face-off with the 4-round preliminary fight, where these guys get into each other's face and they're pushing, and so you're a 4-round undercard fighter, man. Where are you going? No one cares that you have to have a face-off. Like, you're supposed to come to weigh in and leave. No one cares. Your main event is supposed to sell it. Everyone wants to be the new, and those things that they do, and I've seen them do it in the UK, and HBO did it, where they have the face-off. Where they have one
the
guy
gloves
sitting
are off, and
the media, he's supposed to be the mediator, but he's not a mediator. He's an agent provocateur.
Instigator. He's an instigator.
He's an instigator, and he deserves to be slapped, for saying stuff like this. And you've got two guys that you're testing their manhood of, this guy said this about you, and you're putting a guy in a situation that he has to retaliate. And it's so classless. Like, I don't see the reason to have to do that. I really don't see the reason. I don't know why, despite the classy performances that fighters, whether it be AJ, whether it be Usyk, Lomachenko, Arthur, where they conduct themselves as real professionals, you're not happy with that. You want the crazy stuff. That's what you love, and you love to provoke this. And then when something happens, you turn around and say, oh, look at these boxers. Look what they did. Boxing's terrible. Look what, Stop with that. Stop with that. Sell the fight. Stop trying to put a facade to it. Sell the fight. And I think, the BeterbievYarde and Smith and Eubank was a fight that didn't need that. It didn't even need. You'd have had as many people out there if you said nothing.
Well, I mean, this is the weird situation that we're in, especially in the UK, because in 6 weeks' time, Eubanks Jr.'s promoter, Cali, who is hilarious, by the way. He's just like, I would love just to go for a pint with him. Yeah. But they're doing tag team boxing, Russ. Let's just be quiet for a moment. Yeah, they're doing tag team boxing. And I don't know how or what. Now, we watched it a couple of weeks ago, and there was someone on that card who literally had no idea what was going to happen, and he almost got jabbed in the face, then walked over to his corner and said that I've gone blind and I've got searing headaches and I need medical attention immediately. Like, Russ, when I say it was nearly a jab, like, he did get touched probably like this, and then he just freaked out in front of 13,000 people, and you saw the ultimate in implosion and ego death. This, I don't know. I mean, maybe the tag team is a good thing, because maybe it pushes it that far away from actual boxing that it becomes just its own spectacle. But I don't even know really what to do anymore.
I'm just, maybe it's just my age. Maybe it's just the times we live in. But like, I'm just insulted with how little you think of the sport and how little respect you have for the fighters that have come before you. And sadly, those who gave their lives in the ring as well, and some for some very little money as well, that you think it's okay to make a joke out of all this, and treat it like it's a prearranged wrestling match. And it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. The other thing that I don't understand how it can happen, because I'm not sure what the rules are, but in Canada or the United States, every athletic commission is mandated by the state or the province. It's a government entity. If you are not affiliated to your local boxing, amateur boxing body, or your professional commission, it's illegal to punch somebody. It's against the criminal code that you punch somebody, whether for sport or not. You can't do it unless you're under this guide, which is a government body which exempts you from the criminal code. It appears that in the UK, despite the fact that the British Boxing Board of Control is supposed to be the commission, the athletic commission, they have no government protection. They have no government mandate. They're just a private club.
The board is a private company. The board is a private, it's a limited company. Yeah,
and yet, which is fine. I mean, I don't have an issue with the British Boxing Board of Control.
No.
But the fact that you can stage fights without them is incredible. Like so it's basic lawlessness that you can have fights under no jurisdiction control, nobody overseeing it, no regulation, nothing, and it's legal. The police let it happen. I don't understand how that's allowed to happen. So, you know, that these misfit fights go on and these crazy tag team things happen, how it can happen and not be licensed by the British Boxing Board of Control, where they oversee at least, you know, the safety of the fighters, medicals, etc., you know, records, make sure everyone's okay. How this happens without it is, I'm at a loss to explain. I'm 44 years in this business, and I can't tell you how that happens.
No one, I don't think anyone knows. It's like a night out.
It's one rule for one for another.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like how easy they are to stop you from having your license.
Yeah.
And then quickly, in the other way around, they're like, oh, no, we just turn a blind eye to that event going on over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they say they turn a blind eye, they have no jurisdiction on it, which I understand.
Yeah.
And they say, well, they're not licensed. And if you take part in that event, we won't license you. Okay, that's fine. But how does that stop them from doing what they're doing? That's what I don't get. How are they allowed to do what they do?
No one knows. But then, like, here, you have obviously the white collar scene, which is, you know, it's pretty big, to be honest. I don't know if you have that. Do you have that in Canada, like the smokers, where you have like people? Okay, so like here, you
would have to be done under the amateur rules. Like they'd register with the amateur body, and then they put on an amateur show, and there would be a weigh-in and a medical.
Yep.
They'd have to have their amateur card, and they pay for the amateur card, and they'd have to go through that, and they would supply the judges and referees.
We'll put it this way: there's nothing stopping Jesse and I doing a poster, renting a venue, renting a ring, and putting a night on of fights. There's nothing stopping us from doing that under the guise of white collar or even unlicensed, which is the naughtiest of all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you have
but you understand that.
100%.
Like that.
It's crazy,
sense, right? Okay.
It's not even a little bit. With young Mr. Smith, what do you want to see him do next? If they don't do the rematch, which you kind of have to, that for Eubank, he has to do that. He has no other option to do that. But if that doesn't happen, are you thinking Triple G? Are you thinking back down to 154? Because 154 is pretty serious at the minute as well.
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's probably more a question for Joe, Joe McNally and Beefy himself, you know, as to what they want to do. I wouldn't like the 150. I wouldn't like the return personally to 154. I think he proved at 160 he makes the weight comfortably and he's happy. And I always think a happy warrior is a good warrior, you know, and he learns more and he listens better. And I think that was proof right there that moving up was the right decision.
And he looked good at the weight as well. He looked
body
thick.
Looked right. Yeah. Body looked right, and clearly the power was there.
Yeah.
So you know, I would definitely not want to go back to 54 because I see how miserable he can be sometimes at 54 as well, and that's not good. So I'd like him to stay there, and then whatever fights are out there for him, I think this kid is in deserved of a shot at a world title once again, and it could be at 160. And for whatever it is, I will be by his side and loyal to be there and proud to be there. And working with Joe and Declan has been great. I like the chemistry that we have, and how the corner goes, and what each of us wants to do, and definitely going to be a highlight in my book, brother. I'll tell you that.
This weekend, it was a treat of a fight, right? All of the ups and downs aside, Yarde and Beterbiev versus Yarde, it was a banger. It was a great 8 rounds. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it.
Listen, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, did you have a good time at least?
Well, whenever you win, you kind of end up having a good time, right? When you're on the winning side, it's always a good time, right?
But when you have the king of the werewolves that you're on that team with, like,
it's nice.
It's yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, it would be more alarming if it even went to a decision, let alone didn't end in a KO win. Like, if it went to 12, if it went to 11, you're like, okay, this is a bit surprising.
I think them going to a decision would have been as shocking as Beefy stopping Eubanks when he did.
Well, yeah, because they would have robbed him.
Well, no, not just that's another story. Let's get to that in a second.
Yeah.
The likelihood of those guys with with only one fighter, I believe, going the distance with them in their combined records. One fighter went the distance.
Lyndon Arthur.
Yeah, I think that would have been a surprise. Look, it was a great night, but there's 2 things that stood out for me. Number one, and I was very happy that this happened, Yarde conducted himself like a real world-class guy, not just in the ring, but outside the ring as well. Whether he was told to tone it down, because clearly Tunde, kept his mouth shut, despite his antics.
I think Ant is like that. I think Ant, like everyone that knows Ant that we know, speaks incredibly highly of him as a person.
Perfect. Well, I was impressed with it, and I was very proud of being part of that. And he was respectful, and he conducted himself like a champion, and realized that, like I try to tell guys, regardless of what you say, it's going to be what happens in the ring that counts. And he said nothing before the fight, but look at how his stock rose after the fight, not based on what he said, but on what he did. And I believe, although Arthur disagrees, but I believe that he showed more resilience than any of the fighters prior who have lost to Arthur. He came back from being hurt and from taking big shots more than the other guys did. The other guys, when they were in the fight, okay, they were in the fight, but as soon as they started to get hurt, they didn't come back from it very well. He did. He exchanged. He went into toe-to-toe exchanges with Arthur. And I told him after the fight, I told him that very same thing, how resilient he was. And Arthur told him, how old are you? And he said, 28. He said, I started my pro career when I was 29. He says, you have time. You're going to be champion one day. And
well, that shows you how hard he hit him, because I think Anthony's 31, isn't he? I think he punched 3 years off of him.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you what he said there. So. But I mean, he really conducted himself with class and fought his heart out, as best as he could. So, full credit to him. It was, and I can't ever speak about this fight without talking about, the courage that Anthony showed in the fight. And he really tried his best against a guy who's throwing, like you said, hellacious bombs at you, and when they come, they hurt. And full credit to him. He earned it. Now, 2 questions. How does he parlay that into keeping himself, in the top 10, top 5 in the light heavyweight division, and, making sure he stays on the brink and getting himself some good paydays and beating some good guys? Because at the end of the day, what's happened is he's lost to Kovalev and Beterbiev, 2 world-class champions, right?
No shame in that.
But has there been, and you'll have to, I'm asking this, I'm not saying this, has there been anything, anybody of note in between that? Is there a top 5 guy in there?
So we actually discussed this last night. So there's a few options for him. So you got Josh Buatsi.
No, I'm saying that he fought already.
Oh, no, he fought already. No, Lyndon Arthur. Lyndon Arthur is pretty much top 8 across most of the governing bodies. Lyndon Arthur is a fantastic fighter.
Okay.
The first time Lyndon beat him on decision, literally one-handed, but Ant had a lot of personal problems. He had lost close family members. It wasn't the right time for him to take a fight. And even then, it was a very, very close decision. The rematch, Ant blew him out in 4 rounds. Like,
Okay.
bad.
Okay.
But other than that, no.
So, that's what he needs to establish himself. He needs those fights to keep himself, and show that he just wasn't good against the best guy in the world. He needs to show that he's good against the rest of the division as well, and there are guys, like you said, Buatsi, etc.
Yeah.
That he could fight. So,
Joe Smith, even Dan Aziz in time, in a year or two. Dan Aziz and Yard.
Yeah.
I think they're even friends. I think Dan will be well up for that.
Yeah, I think that'll show just how good he is. The same way, like we spoke, Rod, about Jermaine Ortiz, how, he gave Loma a good fight, maybe Loma's slowing down. Oh, maybe Jermaine Ortiz is good. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Like,
And spent how long did he spend? 5 weeks sparring him. So like they knew each other.
Yes, 100%. So I think Yard has to parlay this into something good. My only concern is I don't know that anybody has been the same after a Beterbiev fight.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'll have to.
We haven't seen Gavodnik since. Like,
No, he
Alex
retired, didn't he?
Yeah.
No,
He retired after that loss.
Yeah. Hot Rod fought again. I don't know how well he looked, but he's been off the radar. Joe Smith lost in a manner which he hasn't ever lost in, like it wasn't even competitive. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm glad they got him out of there. They made the right call in
100%.
getting him out of there when they did. I'll give him that. Tundi made the right call in getting him out of there. And I've been in that situation before, and with David Lemieux and against Marco Antonio Rubio, and I like to think that I saved the kid's career, and he went on to win a world title and become a millionaire. A fight for $1 million, and I hope they did the same. I think had they let Arthur finish the job, and pound, because the referee wasn't moving in at that point,
Nope.
So
we don't have to name names, but do you want to just? So look, again, we discussed this last night, so we're going to talk. You can jump in. You know how this works, Ross, right? I don't want to put you in any situation. You were there. So from a fan's perspective, when we're watching it on TV, there was a count that may or may not have been about 3 weeks long. It was one of the longest counts I've ever seen. It was a joke. The count was at 4 when he started at 1, and he kept looking at Beterbiev like Beterbiev had never scored a knockdown before. That's all that dude does. He scored the knockdown. He went immediately to the neutral corner, and he waited very patiently and observed the distance as per the rules of the Marquis of Queensberry. Okay, so Yard gets up. There's no glove rubbing, seeing what is going on. He's very, very casual.
Left to his own accord for a good 3 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, and that in itself is pretty bad. I don't really know what to even say, but it's not really been picked up on that much. It seems like us and maybe a couple of others have been saying, I'm not sure that's okay. It's weird.
Well, we never seem to say anything. Happened on Beterbiev's eye. They called that a punch, and it was clearly a headbutt. And from what everybody told me, I didn't see the replays on TV, but from what everybody told me, it was a headbutt. Again,
Very
you're
clearly
setting the table to try to take something away from the kid. Like it wasn't right, because let's say, for example, this caught a blood vessel, or I wasn't able to stop it, or it started streaming into a Russ, and then the referee says, "Oh, stopping the fight." There's no going to the scorecards. They're stopping the fight because they're saying it's caused by a legal punch, and we lose by a TKO. So it's important that you get these decisions right. It's important to have instant replay. It's important to get the calls right. Now, nobody says anything because Arthur won, and that's it. We'd go on our way. But it just goes to show you that's not the only thing that was wrong in the fight, you know. And the yards groin guard as well, which came up
Was
literally
up his armpit.
it was armpit, right? You know, and
I
we
just
didn't even
assumed that
talk
he
about
kept
that.
the stab vest on that he walked into the ring with. I just
Yeah.
thought that what he did was that he put the sleeves off and just put it over the shorts, and he was good to go.
Yeah, it
It was,
was.
it was a bit thick.
It was, and they're very particular about that when they come and visit you in the dressing room. You know, they say your cup cabinet. Well, clearly nobody cared about that either, right? So it's bad. I don't know what else to say. It's a shame that this kind of stuff still has to happen in boxing. It's a shame that just can't be fair. And I don't think any fighter ever wants a favor done. I think they just want it to be fair because they know what other fighters go through as well. And no one wants to be on the receiving end of a gift decision or a controversial call, because the fighter himself has to live with that also when he gets the hate from everybody else and he's not proud of boasting about his win or being proud of his moment because it's been aided and abetted by something else. So I just, people just want it to be fair, just be fair to people. Like, there's no reason to have to do that. So, but
I mean, look, if potentially we were conspiratorially minded, Jesse and I, and we do have a conspiracy podcast that you know about, you are penciled to come on.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Can't at the side quest is where we're at right now. If we were conspiratorially minded and we maybe say that the head clash was rendered a decision of a punch, like you said, that can go any way that it wants. The second that I magically it's got eyes open, oh my God, we've got to stop this, Doc, come in. Right?
Yeah.
Two of the judges have it 5-2 to Yard. Okay.
No, 5-2 and 4-3.
Yeah, 4-3 was the right decision, but the other way.
Just the wrong way around.
Yeah. Yeah, 4-3 Arthur, totally fine. Right? Because, like, I can understand as a Brit, as whatever, 1, 2, and 3, Yard came out very fast. Arthur starts slow. Yard started fast. It is what it is. Round 4, 5, 6, 7, all Arthur. 8, all Arthur.
Competitive rounds, competitive rounds. But
it's Loma Luke Campbell again, right? It's 3 rounds. It's 3 minutes in the round. Yeah. Luke wins 1 minute of the round. Looks good. Yeah. 2 of those minutes completely dominated. Yeah. It's what it is.
Yeah.
So you're now in a unique situation, should we say, because the WBC are not being very friendly or kind, and they're saying that the mandatory for Callum is being called, and that's the one that has to happen, and Bivol has to make a direct request to the WBC, which is just weird. So for you, do you do the man of honor and just say, I can't be in either corner? That's which is
I have to.
You do have to.
I know.
And I hope for you because it's a good payday. Either way,
well, I'm not worried about the money. You got to, Rob. I don't do this for the money. I earn my money elsewhere. Boxing's never been about the money for me. It's great to have it, but to allow me to travel and live this life and be with these fighters and do this is what's more important. And I feel terrible that I can't be there, and I feel like I'm letting Callum down, or I'm letting Mark Ramsey down, or I'm letting Beterbiev down, and I don't want to let anybody down. That's not my goal, but I have to honor and respect my friendship and my longevity with each of the guys that I have, that I can't go in the corner and work against you. I can't go and help somebody to beat you. I'm not going to do that. And if it means somebody's going to be mad at me, I'm sorry, but I'm the one that has to live with myself, and I'm going to do the right thing. And there's nothing no one's ever going to be able to convince me that I should work one against the other. And I'm not going to do that, not for the money. And if my friendship is valued, then that's going to be understood, because I'm doing it because of my friendship with you, because of my relationship with you, because of my respect for both of these guys, that I am not going to be the turncoat. I'm not going to be the guy, the one to betray one or the other. I'm not going to be Judas, and suddenly tell a secret. And I'm also not going to be the guy to withhold something that I may know while I'm working with one of the fighters, because if I'm working with him, I should give him my best and give him all my knowledge, and that would mean being betraying the other person.
Yep.
And I'm not going to do that because they're my friends, and so I can't do it. I just can't. I couldn't live with myself if I did do it. So
Dude, this is why we love you, because of that reason alone. There's so many people that wouldn't do it. There's so many people that would just go to the highest bidder, and it's there's no integrity and there's no honor in that one. And the thing is as well, when you're dealing in a sport which is at its core about honor, you can't. You 100% correct.
Listen, I've pondered this a long time, and I didn't arrive at this decision easily, and I thought about it hard, and I value my friendship immensely with Mark Ramsey. We've been friends for over 20 years. I've worked corners with him, and it's not because of a disloyalty towards him. It's me as a person and my friendships outside of his fighters, like outside of his guys. And, I've been with I've worked the corners of every Smith brother.
Yep.
How can I was there for Liam's world title win. I was there for Callum's. I actually wrapped Callum's hands before I even knew Arthur, going back to 2014 when he made his US debut in California on the Sean Porter Kell Brook undercard. So, I have a certain history there, and it's not about the brand either. It's not about who wears Rival and who doesn't wear Rival. It has nothing to do with any of that. This is about my convictions and my beliefs as a fight guy, and as a guy who I feel I have an input in the corner and a say, that I would be a Judas if I did that on either side. So I just can't.
I love that, dude. Which where are we going to see you next? Obviously you're away next week. When are you back out cornering, rapping, and just being the magician you are?
Well, it looks like it will be early March, March 11th, I believe the date is, in Liverpool. So I'll be back in Liverpool.
Oh, you're on the boxer card.
Callum's fighting, so I don't know who's I'm presuming that's a Matchroom card.
Oh, I think I think they may have conflicting dates. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, to be honest, we pay for DAZN already, so we'll be streaming on DAZN.
Well, I'll be in Callum's corner, and I gotta say, I respect Callum a lot as well, because from the time he made his decision to go to the light heavyweight division, and Arthur was already, the Chad, 3 of those belts.
Yep.
I had told him that, this day, I tried to talk him out of going after that fight, for selfish reasons, of course. And, he understood, and I respect that, and despite knowing that I cannot work with him in the BeterbievYarde fight, I'm still going to have worked this will be my 3rd fight with him in the light heavyweight division, but he understands and he gets
He looks great at light heavyweight. He really does.
He does. Really does.
He looks fantastic. Now,
listen, he looked great at super middle as well.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he looked great except for Canelo, he looked great at super middle as well. So, good fighter.
No, but the thing is with Callum, where he is so tall and so long, you know that the shelf life at 168 is always going to be a lot shorter. And you know that when you go up that one tier, not only are you big enough, you're just going to be so much. It's beefy at 160. It's the same thing, right? He's only ever going to be better. I would never ask you your opinion on BeterbievYarde and Callum, right? But what I will ask you is BeterbievYarde and Bivol. No, I wouldn't do that.
Well, you can ask me, because it's going to be a tough and dangerous fight for both of them.
This is it. This is it. But I wouldn't want to. Yeah, you're friends with both. You know things that there's no upside in that one. But BeterbievYarde and Bivol, Jesse is 100% BeterbievYarde. For me personally, I think that's one of the hardest 50-50s that I've seen for quite a long time, because they counter each other so well.
You know what? Bivol has, he's like one of those guys who comes along every once in a while, who is just so good at doing basic things. No flash, no panache, just being a textbook pure boxer, exploiting the sweet science as it was designed to be, and makes it work. And sometimes in not flamboyant, most times not in a flamboyant fashion, but a very workmanlike effort and a very high skill set. He's an outstanding fighter. I saw him before he became champion, and I said, "Oh, this guy knows what he's doing in there. He can fight." What I'm pissed off about is that, there shouldn't be the Canelo talk of a Canelo rematch. Certainly not at 168 pounds. That's insane. That's like you're trying to weaken this guy so badly, just to say you avenged him. Well, you never avenged it, because his weight is 175 pounds. He's never fought at 168. Okay. I think that's criminal that they're even trying to do that. The other thing that's bothering me, and I think needs to be addressed somehow, is I think fighters, and it happened with Lomachenko as well, I think fighters are sick of putting everything up that they have. Champions are sick of putting everything up that they have against somebody who is in a no-lose situation. They have nothing to lose, everything to gain and nothing to lose, and the champion has nothing to gain and everything to lose. And we're in a position in boxing now, within this 4-belt era, where champions can fight each other, and sometimes sometimes you could have 4 fighters having one belt each. There's a lot of fights to be made in that, where both have something on the line. And it's sad that Bivol, who I respect greatly, I respect his team, and BeterbievYarde is not the fight that's happening when it should be the fight to happen. And then you can splinter it again afterwards, and then go back to champion fighting champion again. That's what should be happening. Instead, we're leaving a guy who's champion with 3 belts, another one with 1 belt, fighting a guy who's a super middleweight who wants him to come down to super middleweight when he shouldn't be a super middleweight. He should be a light heavyweight. It's really insane when you think about it. And it's all about getting the cash grab. And you're going to force a guy, because Canelo commands so much money. You're going to force a guy to come down to 168 pounds. Just so you can say, "Oh, I beat him again." Like I beat him this time in the rematch.
How much more money does he need?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is it. Like at a certain point, like we've seen you're rolling around in Bugattis and Lambos, and like we've seen it. You've got the cash. You don't need any more cash.
He's a man that lives in his silk pajamas. I don't think he needs any more cash.
Literally, yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, and you know what? He's always wanted to fight for titles. Loma wants to fight for titles. Champions want to fight for titles. They want to fight for belts. At some point, believe me when I tell you, it's very hard on champions to consistently be fighting guys who have nothing to lose and everything to gain, and the champion has everything to lose and nothing to gain. It's other than a payday, maybe, and even that.
I think we'll close you out, because I know that you're busy. Loma and Devin Haney, how do you feel? Because Loma for me is Loma. Like he's literally on the wall right there. You saw I put a post up about him. He's the Don. I'm very excited to see that.
I'm disappointed. If I had to say anything about that, I'm disappointed about how Western media, especially the American media, has refused to recognize the greatness that is Vasily Lomachenko and what he accomplished in a very short period of time. I mean, it's real. If anybody else would have done that, they'd already be building a statue for the guy, and it's bad. And now he's got to go out almost and prove himself all over again. And literally, if he does not beat Devin Haney, they're going to say he was a fraud all along. He's never going to get the respect. And yet he's fighting at a weight class he shouldn't be fighting at.
Nope.
But if he'd have stayed at 130, you couldn't have gotten anybody to fight him with a remote chance, unless you put 2 people in the ring at the same time with him. There was nobody going to touch him at 130 pounds. And now he's had to give up weight and to give an advantage to other people. And but I hope he gets it done. It's going to be a great night, and he's a great fighter, and he believes he can win. And if he believes he can win, watch out.
I think he stops Haney, personally. I think there's something for me that feels ever so slightly vulnerable. Haney is a spectacular talent, and obviously he's undisputed champ, etc. But there's just something that says to me, Lomas, like not no Maschenko's him, but I can feel it in my waters, as my grandmother would say.
Well, I hope you're right, because it would be nice to be on the winning side of that. But just to show you how sometimes how unjust sometimes boxing could be, you know, in a short period of time, George Kambosos,
Yep,
Teofimo Lopez, and Devin Haney have been undisputed champions of the world.
Yep.
And Loma wasn't.
Nope. But yeah, that was one of the most bizarre clerical things. Let's upgrade your belt to the super duper WBC belt, but can't call yourself undisputed anymore. Hold on a minute. Where was that in the small print? Do you think that you'll be out in Saudi? Because I've seen many reports now. Saudi is the spot for Usyk and Fury.
Good.
Providing that Fury actually agrees. I think April 29th, I think, is what I saw, or April 19th.
Very good. I'm very excited. That's good. I hope it is. And I'm glad, like I said this in an interview when we were over in the UK. I think it might have been even with Big Daddy Buns.
Uncle Buns.
Yeah. That it should be on neutral territory. It should be. That should have been a fight maybe in the States. Saudi, but it's not fair that the fight should be in somebody. And let's say the Ukraine wasn't at war. It shouldn't be in the Ukraine either. It shouldn't be in Ukraine either. It shouldn't be in England. It should be in neutral territory. Where both guys can go and give it their best and hopefully not be subject to hometown decision or whatever, or any controversy, and that the better man will prevail. And I hope it's my guys. So let's hope the middleweight gets it done.
I have my fingers crossed that around that time I will have to unfortunately be sent out to the Dubai, Jordan, or UAE office of my company, so I can at least maybe just get there a little bit closer.
100%.
I've got to come see Uncle Russ. I've got to come say hello. And you know what I mean?
I have to tell you that I don't know where in Saudi it would be. I hope it's back in Jeddah, because that just is going to make everybody feel like they're at home. The people did a wonderful job in the events that they've staged there. The fans have been great. The people around it around the event have treated us like gold. I'd be more than happy to be back in Jeddah. I miss that place already.
Looks cool, Russ.
And they have a lovely snooker room as well.
Yeah, I see.
As always, mate, an absolute pleasure. I do really want to get you on SideQuest to talk Titanic.
Yeah,
that's a real thing.
I'd love to do that. I'm going to
text you, and we will arrange that.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure there are things that I can learn from you about that as well. I have my limited knowledge of it and my thoughts on it and what could have been. And of course, in something like that, the hindsight's always 2020. But
always,
I'd love to talk about that, because it's something that hopefully history doesn't repeat itself. But it just goes to show how bad human error and human judgment can be. And that's why in sport we have an opportunity to have instant replay. Use it. Don't get it wrong. Humans get things wrong.
I still don't know how you have someone counting with their fingers with a non-atomic clock that's not automated. Like, how is that not pumped through the speakers the second the person touches the floor? Why is the referee going, we'll start at 1. All right,
Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be, right?
Of course. But it is.
But I think they do that. They do that because, again, they find a way in a certain area to make it so vague that should they wish to cheat, they can. Okay. So what happens now? What they've and this is funny, because the guy who sits by us, the knockdown timekeeper, often when we have fights here in Montreal, happened to be in the corner where we're sat right by the knockdown timekeeper, and he has this iron bar that's about this long, and it's got a big iron knob at the end of it, and
Right.
he's got a thick piece of wood that he has there. And as soon as a fighter is knocked down, he takes that thing and he goes, boom, you know what? Boom, and he's hitting it too, and he's showing with his hands, right? He's like, boom. So the referee then turns around and picks up the count from the knockdown timekeeper, which again, it's not seconds, it is a count. So it's boom, 1, 2, you know, and they do it, and they pick up the count from there. Now you would think that what I just described to you is a fair and honest way of doing it. And it, you know, you could hear it throughout the arena. You hear that, you know, it used to be, they used to hit the canvas when they were counting. So now they got this. When you don't want people to know exactly where you're at, so, you know, it's too bad. I mean, things should be cut and dry. And, you know, I said this, there's something I said to Mark Ramsey, you know, leading up to the negotiations of the fight, and you know, the ring size and the canvas and the gloves and the this and the that. The reason we go through all this stuff nowadays is because somewhere along the line, somebody cheated with those things somewhere, which now you have to take precautions to not do it, because if you don't do it, they will cheat again. Sad, really, when you think about it.
And on that note, I look forward to seeing you very, very soon, my brother. Jess, stay on, mate. We'll do the wrap up.
Yeah, thanks for your time, Russ.
An absolute pleasure, mate.
Jess, it was a pleasure meeting you. Good
too,
guy.
man.
Rob, thanks again, man. We'll talk soon.
Love you very much. Bye, mate.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jesse Page, you just said your first Russ Anber experience. This is why the Guest of the Year award is actually called the Russ Anber Tyler Goodjohn Award now, because we couldn't split between the two of them. Tyler's an absolute lunatic, but Russ is an absolute icon.
It was a religious experience.
He's epic, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's absolutely epic. Like the geezer, like he's an encyclopedia. Like he'll tell you stories about you. You name the fighter, like you name it, he's got a story about him. He's just an absolute G. Like, what more is there? You know? There it is, and we will have him on SideQuest. He is obsessed with two items: JFK and the Titanic. Two very, very well-known truth items.
Big
Although I'm not
as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knows about the Federal Reserve stuff with the Titanic, but so that might be it. Yeah, that might be fun. Yeah. On that note, geezer, we are back. Patreon.com fighting words. Enter promo code. Give us £2 a month and so forth. But yeah, fighting words. Patreon.com. £2 a month, £3.50 a month, £5 a month, £10 a month if you want to be an absolute G. Shannon Ryan is on the list. I believe we've got Malik Scott, the odd guy. That's a pretty decent one, that one.
That's a good one.
And then there's a couple of other ones that are just simmering in the pipeline that are decent. And obviously on Patreon, we have Wargasm with Sporting Icons. Huge. Undestructible as always, where sweet Sammy J gets to spread his wings a little bit. We'll start getting the guests back on Undestructible, because those ones are just classic bands. There's a few decent duos coming on. When I say decent, I mean absolutely and utterly epic duos due to come on. And then like we're doing the sweep ups now. The Crow has been really, really flapping his feathers. Bless him. Shout out to the Crow.
He's definitely learned to fly.
He really has.
He's no longer just sitting in the nest.
Yeah, just
yeah,
getting he's just getting drop puke in his mouth. Bless him. Shout out Sammy. But yeah, we are at the stage now where finally the algo, touch wood, is helping us.
It doesn't hate us.
Blessings, love and light, Jesse Page.